Emily had always believed every corner of her town held secrets. That winter afternoon was no different, except the secret she uncovered that day would change her life. The biting wind howled between abandoned buildings as she wandered, lost in thought after a long shift at the animal shelter. Suddenly, she stopped. A soft, almost inaudible cry pricked her ears. Curiosity mixed with dread as she traced the sound to a narrow alley, littered with broken glass and tattered boxes. There, shivering against a wall, was a dog, a golden retriever mix, her ribs pressing against her thin coat. Beneath her curled body was something smaller, softer, a puppy, barely old enough to open its eyes, struggling to nestle deeper into her fur. Emily's breath caught. Her instinct screamed to rush over, but her experience told her to move slow. "It's okay, girl," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I see you." Emily sank to her knees, heart aching. The mother dog lifted her head, eyes hollow with exhaustion but shining with something deeper, a fierce, unyielding love. She didn't bark. She didn't bare her teeth. She just stared, as if weighing Emily's soul. The puppy whimpered weakly, its tiny paws scrabbling against its mother's chest. Emily saw it now. The mother was starving, her body frail, but she had used every ounce of her strength to keep her baby alive. She had chosen hunger over leaving her pup alone, chosen fear over abandonment. Tears welled in Emily's eyes. "You've been so strong," she murmured. "Let me help you." The dog looked down at her baby, then back at Emily. And then, with a deep sigh that seemed to carry the weight of the world, she gently nudged her puppy forward. Emily froze, her heart hammering in her chest. The meaning was unmistakable. The mother was giving her puppy away. It was an act of trust, but also of utter heartbreak. The tiny puppy let out a frail cry, confused and frightened. His mother leaned down, licking his small head, her nose quivering. Emily slowly reached out, tears spilling down her cheeks. "I've got you, little one," she whispered, her hands closing around the fragile, trembling body. In that moment, the puppy's soft whimpers faded into the hush of the alley. His tiny heartbeat thudded against Emily's palm, fragile but alive. The heartbreaking goodbye. Emily turned her eyes to the mother, silently begging her to come too. "Please," she whispered, her voice breaking, "come with us. I can help you both." But the mother dog only stepped back. Her eyes glistened, but she stood tall, as if summoning all her strength. She bent down once more, giving her puppy one last, loving lick, an unspoken message of comfort and courage. Then, with a slow, heavy turn, she walked away. Emily cried out after her, her voice echoing down the alley. "Wait. Please, don't leave." But the mother kept walking, disappearing into the maze of streets, her head held high even as her steps faltered. Emily wrapped the puppy snugly in her scarf, whispering soft words as she rushed back to the shelter. The staff moved quickly, preparing a warm bed and formula for the tiny survivor. "We'll call him Lucky," Emily said, brushing his tiny head. "Because today, he got a second chance." Night fell, and Lucky slept, safe and warm for the first time in his short life. But Emily's heart was restless. She kept seeing the mother's eyes, the quiet pain, the immense love, the sacrifice. Days turned into weeks, and Lucky thrived. His eyes brightened, his steps grew stronger, and his puppy bark brought joy to everyone around. But Emily couldn't let go of the mother dog's memory. Every evening after her shifts, she returned to that alley, leaving food, blankets, and whispered prayers. She asked neighbors, posted flyers, searched shelters, but the mother seemed to have vanished into the shadows, a ghost of love and loss. One rainy night, Emily sat beside Lucky, now a playful ball of fur. She hugged him close, whispering, "Your mom is the bravest soul I've ever met. I wish she could see you now." And as thunder rumbled in the distance, Emily let herself believe that somewhere out there, the mother dog knew. That somehow, against all odds, their hearts were still connected, unseen but unbroken. Months later, Lucky was adopted into a loving home, his eyes bright and full of life. Emily continued her work, always watching, always hoping. And every time she saved another lost soul, she thought of that brave mother dog, the one who had taught her the deepest lesson of all, that love sometimes means letting go, even when it breaks your heart. Spring arrived quietly, washing the town in shades of green and gold. Emily hadn't given up her evening walks, though months had passed since that unforgettable day. She still left food in the alley, still whispered words into the wind, hoping, praying. One soft April evening, as dusk settled over the streets, Emily took a new route home, her heart tugging her toward a nearby park. She wandered aimlessly, lost in thought, when a flicker of movement near the old oak tree caught her eye. Her breath hitched. There, lying cautiously in the grass, was a dog, scruffy, thin, but unmistakable. Those eyes! Emily's heart stuttered in her chest. "It's you," she whispered, taking a tentative step forward. The mother dog raised her head slowly, her eyes locking onto Emily's. Recognition passed between them like a silent thread, binding them together once again. But this time, the mother didn't turn away. She stood up, her tail giving a hesitant wag. Emily knelt, tears already pooling. "I never stopped looking for you," she whispered. "You're safe now. Please, come home with me." And then the moment that Emily had dreamed of, feared she'd never see, happened. The mother took a step forward. Then another. Finally, she pressed her head gently against Emily's hand, her body trembling with exhaustion but radiating trust. Emily wrapped her arms around her, sobbing softly. "You're so brave. So strong." That night, back at the shelter, the mother dog, whom Emily named Hope, curled up in a soft bed, safe at last. For the first time in what must have been a lifetime of hardship, she slept deeply, no longer alone. And when Lucky visited the shelter the next day with his new family, he and Hope shared a quiet, knowing moment, two hearts, forever linked, finally at peace. Hope's days of wandering and sacrifice were finally over. In the weeks that followed her rescue, she blossomed from a shadow of a former self into a vibrant, loving dog. Her eyes, once clouded with sorrow, now gleamed with quiet happiness. Emily, who had witnessed both the heartbreak and the healing, often sat by her side, reflecting on their journey. Lucky, now a healthy, thriving pup with a forever family, visited often. Whenever mother and son saw each other, there was no fanfare, just a peaceful closeness, as if they both knew deep down that they had already said the hardest goodbye, and now, every moment together was a gift. The alley where it all began stood silent, but it was no longer a place of sadness. It had become a symbol, a reminder that love, no matter how broken or bruised, can circle back in the most unexpected ways. And as Emily watched Hope snooze in the warm sunlight, she smiled, her heart full. Their story had been one of sacrifice, loss, and incredible courage. But in the end, it had become a story of reunion, healing, and above all, hope. Because sometimes, the most broken hearts find their way home.